Let's go, champ. How to add power to your left hook, or for you southpaws, your right hook. So how to add power, it comes to transferring weight. You need to learn how to transfer your weight. There's some other little things as far as rotation that could also add power, but it's about transferring weight. And so when you're boxing, a lot of times I'm sitting on that back leg and I'm stepping in, I'm setting things up with the jab. But when I go to throw my hook, if I'm throwing it in a combination, if I'm throwing it behind the two, when I throw my two, the weight shifted to the front leg, to my lead leg. Now I'm in position to throw my hook. Boom, right? And as I throw my hook, boom, I shift the weight back to my right. Now I can come back up underneath with a 4, right? And come back with a 2, right? Come back with a looping 2, right? But I'm shifting weight. It's about transference of weight. Shift the weight and there'll be more power. Boom. You see a lot of guys and they want to do this. They want to focus on their ankle. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. Focus on hip rotation. If you focus on hip rotation, you know, at some point there's getting so much tension in my knee right now because I'm turning my hips that eventually my ankle kicks. That ankle kick is a byproduct. There's a lot of times I throw a left hook and my ankle doesn't kick. And then it wasn't because I didn't rotate enough. It was because my punch already landed. It has a lot to do with the distance where you're fighting, where your opponent is, how close you are to your opponent. When the punch lands, it lands. If my ankle kicked before it landed, after, it doesn't matter, right? That ankle's gonna kick last, if it kicks, because my focus is never on an ankle kick. My focus is first and foremost on transference of weight. I'm transferring weight on that hook. I'm transferring the weight from the front foot back to the back foot. That's what you're doing on a hook to add power. You're not doing this. This don't do anything at all for you. No, don't do it. Focus on the hip rotation and first transferring the weight. Transfer the weight to the back, and if you get the hips to rotate enough, there the ankle goes, byproduct of good hip rotation. So transference of weight, hip rotation, that is where it's at. Let's take a look at the bag, the heavy bag. Couple different moves too. If you're throwing just a single hook, right? A lot of times you're setting it up behind a jab. So you're gonna be sticking them. You're sticking them with the jab, right? Distract them, getting that feint out there, right? But when you throw the 2, that sets you up even better to throw that 2 and then come back with the 3. But you can throw it as a lead. I'll show you how to throw it as a lead, and then we'll come back to putting it in a combination. So back to throwing it as a lead punch. You could do it off the jab. You could hook off the jab. That's not as much of a power shot as throwing it the way I'm going to show you. My favorite single hook to throw is when my opponent's throwing their 2 or throwing a 1-2 at me, right? I'm rolling up underneath, and as I roll underneath, I step, and I'm loaded. My weight's already here, and now I'm coming back, boom, and I'm trying to turn the lights out. So I'm rolling up underneath, boom, and I'm coming back and I'm putting it down and I'm putting the leather on him. But let me just share a little extra tip for you here that adds a little something to this. When you roll underneath, if you touch him to the body, that shot, I'm really not trying to hit him as hard as I can. I just want his attention there. Because if his attention's there, and if I do knock the wind out of him, that's good. But I want that attention there so that when I come back across with the hook to the top, his attention was on that little solar plex shot. That's usually where I aim for that shot. His attention's on that solar plex shot, and I come back trying to clean his clock. I'm trying to knock him out. all right, when I come back with that. So if I roll up underneath his 2, he's trying to rip my head off with his 2. So it's only right that I rip his head off with my 3. So I roll up underneath. So it's, there it is right there. We're catching him. Catching him with that one. I'm looking him in the eye. I'm watching this close. Here comes his 2. Right? And I'm laying that on him. I'm putting it on him. Right? So that's the 3 we want. We roll right underneath, touch him, and that 3 is coming back. Now, look where the weight ended up. Back on this side, come back up the middle with the 4, come back with a loop in right? Come back to the body. I can do all kinds of things. But I'm shifting weight from front lead leg to back leg. That's where the power is at. You get the power from the floor, comes through the legs, rotates in the hips. You add a little extra power, right? Comes through the shoulders, comes through those biceps, right? You tighten that muscle up and you kind of lock that shoulder in. That's how you add power to that hook. Now, one other thing you can do, you can get a little bit of a slingshot effect on your hook. This also adds tremendous power. If I'm in here and I'm rotating, watch what happens. So here, the other thing is this. Defensively, I don't want to be here. That's a bad spot to be in. If you open up too soon, you're vulnerable to get nailed yourself. You get nailed with that guy's 2. If he gets off quick and sees you opening up, that's holes in your defense. You don't want that. So you want to keep that closed like a shot put. You don't see a shot putter hold the shot put out far away from him and then try and launch it. It's the same with the 2. We don't want to get sidetracked in this video on the 2, but it's the same principle as when you throw your 2. You throw your 2 from here, you're going to have more on it than you do if you're here. Now, that being said, there is a point when I'm going to execute the shot that I do open up. Watch. Now, when I open up here, you see this tension in here? I get my body and I add a little whiplash effect, a little slingshot effect when I'm in here, right? And I do that a lot when I go to the body. You know, right? Right? I'm still shifting weight. But by adding that little, by opening up, that chest opening up, boom, I get a little bit of a slingshot effect in there on that hook. So let's take a look at what that looks like on the heavy bag. So we're in here, we're shifting. I'm slingshotting that hook in there and I'm adding power. Remember, first and foremost, I'm transferring weight. The weight's here, now the weight's here. Shifting the weight. Loading up on that hook. Right? Loading up on it. Right? We're going to load up on that hook. Right? Keep them hands up. Keep them hands up. And transfer that weight and let that hook rip. But get that little slingshot in there. Slingshot it in there. Right? Knock him out. That's the goal. I myself have knocked guys out with the single left hook in the amateurs with headgear on. That's it. All right. Even in sparring sessions with 16-ounce gloves. So, sounds like I'm bragging. I am a little bit. That ego gets away from me once in a while. But anyway, you want to focus on number 1, transferring weight. Another little thing, rotating the hips. And number 3, you can add a little bit of a slingshot effect right up in this chest. And then tighten that. That fist should be tight. That bicep should be tight. And that shoulder should be tight when on impact. When you land, you're flexing all that muscle to land on him. You're trying to take his head off. That's how you add power to your hook. So if you like it, man, give me a comment below about what video you want next. Let's get it, champ.